Okay, so again, I'm Reneika Lightbourne. I'm one of the business development specialists here with Advanta since 2019. I'm also an Advanta IRA client prior to joining staff. So self-direction is something that I advocate both personally and professionally. After today's webinar, if you have a question or you want to talk through your exact scenario, you're always welcome to give me a call or send me an email. I would encourage you to also go to our website. It's a great wealth of resource for you. You can schedule a consultation with myself or one of my colleagues. Just a quick disclaimer, just know that at Advanta, we don't give any tax, legal, or investment advice. All of the information presented here is just for educational purposes. As always, you're encouraged to do your own due diligence, consult with your professional team like your CPAs and financial advisors before you make any investment decisions. Just a quick takeaway in terms of today's webinar. This is a new concept for you. I know it can be a lot of information, but just remember that any IRA or former employer plan, like an old 401k, qualifies to be self-directed. 2, you choose the investment. You get to choose what is it that you want to invest in. Today, we're focused on real estate related assets. And then just know that all of the income generated from that investment flows back into your retirement account. If there's any expenses, it's paid out of the retirement account. Just a little history about Advanta. We've been in business for 22 plus years now as one of the leading self-directed IRA administrators in the business. While we don't give any tax, legal, or investment advice, our team is comprised of attorneys, certified IRA service professionals, financial planners, and so forth. Our headquarters is located in Clearwater, Florida, so that's the general Tampa Bay area. Advanta has an office in Atlanta, which is where I'm based. But we do work with clients nationwide, as we have well over $3 billion under our administration now. In addition to providing you free educational content that have experts and practitioners such as Rashad come in and knowledge share with you, we also provide our clients that concierge style service. So all of our clients have an assigned account manager, a dedicated point of contact who's with them for the life of their account. In addition to hosting weekly webinars, you're always welcome to go to our events page. If you have a topic or something that you're interested in, kind of let us know. We're happy to talk through that with you. In addition, we also have Pay, Promote, Prosper. It's our virtual online networking event. My colleague Alex Perney hosts our podcast. It's a more informal, but it's a great nugget of information relating to different strategies that you can do. And then, of course, our blog. It's everything related to self-direction. So exactly what is a self-directed IRA? Just very simply, it puts you, the account owner, in the driver's seat. You have complete control over your retirement funds. You have complete control over your investment decisions. You get to diversify in terms of what is it that you want to invest in. It's near limitless in terms of what's on the table for you. You can invest in the likes of real estate, precious metals, private equities, digital assets, and so forth. Today, again, we're focusing on real estate. Real estate investing can mean many things for many different investors, which includes tiny homes, which includes large-scale commercial property, multifamily units, tax liens, and so forth. Just bear with me one moment. So why do people choose to self-direct? You can look to self-direct for many different reasons. I'll just touch on 3 of them. 1, it being a new source of capital for you. So if you have funds sitting in an existing IRA or an old employer plan like a 401k or a 403b, instead of taking out a bank loan or tapping into your emergency fund, you can elect to put some of those funds to work. If you are looking to raise capital for your next project, you can certainly look at qualified retirement accounts, self-directed IRAs as a great resource for you to do just that. There's nearly $40 trillion sitting in retirement accounts, and less than 4% of it is truly self-directed, meaning truly in alternative assets. In addition, you can also look to self-direct because of the volatility, the ups and downs in the stock market. So with real estate, we know it's a tangible asset. It's always going to retain value. It allows you to, again, diversify outside of the traditional stocks and bonds. And then, of course, the tax benefits, having those rents, those profits, those dividends flow back into your retirement account, tax-free or tax-deferred, based on the type of account that you have. If you go to the IRS website, you won't see the term self-directed. It's the same types of accounts that you're already accustomed to or familiar with. For individuals, you have traditional and Roth IRAs. Traditional being, you get a tax break up front, you grow your account over time, you pay taxes then. Whereas with the Roth IRA, you elect to pay taxes up front as long as you've held that Roth account for 5 years and you're 59 and a half, which is the retirement age per IRS. Those distributions will be tax-free. For business owners, if you have a side job or, you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur, you can certainly look to self-direct a SEP, simple or solo 401k. Solo 401ks, a lot of real estate professionals, a lot of real estate investors like it just because you have greater flexibility. If you want to know more about that, again, go to our website, give us a call. We're happy to talk through the details relating to all of the account types. Some lesser or smaller known accounts, smaller dollar accounts that are just as important that can also be self-directed are ESAs, educational savings accounts. You can also self-direct an HSA as long as you have a high deductible medical plan. Check with your provider for that, but you can certainly self-direct. Any former employer plan like old 401k, 403b, TSP, 457, all of those plans can be self-directed. The only other thing that you need to be mindful of is if it's a current employer plan and you're not yet 59 and a half, most times they'll restrict you from moving it. You can certainly inquire to see if they'll make an exception to allow you to move a portion of it. If it's an old employer plan, no issues, you can move it. If it's a current employer plan and you're not 59 and a half, there lies possibly a delay. In terms of funding the account, there's several ways you can do that. You can do a trustee to trustee transfer if you have an existing IRA. So let's just say you have a brokerage IRA at the Fidelity or Charles Schwab. You can elect to move as much or as little as you need to make your investment. There's no tax liabilities for you to do that. If you have an old 401k or TSP, you would actually have to initiate that request, meaning taking a personal distribution, but you just let the other custodian know that or plan provider know that you're moving X amount of dollars over to another qualified retirement account. And then, of course, you have the ability to make an annual cash contribution as long as you have earned income. For traditional and Roth IRAs, the contribution amounts remain the same for 2025 as it did in 2024. So it's $7,000 if you're under the age of 50, $8,000 if you're over 50. For the employer plans, SEP, simple, solo 401ks, those are the higher dollar contribution amounts. Specifically for solo 401ks, essentially you get to contribute as an employee and then match as an employer. If you're under the age of 50, you can contribute $70,000, so you did get an increase there. If you're between the ages of 51 and 59 plus 64, you have the option to put in $77,500. But starting in 2025 with Secure Act 2.0, between the ages of 60 and 63, you actually have an additional catch-up where you get to put in pretty much a significant amount where you can possibly contribute up to $81,250. For ESAs, the contribution amount remained the same, $2,000 per year per child. With an HSA, we did see a slight increase for individuals. You can now put in $4,300. For a family plan, you can put in $8,550. My apologies on that typo. If you're over the age of 55, you have an additional $1,000 that you can contribute to your HSA plan. When you're ready to get started with us, the process is streamlined for you. It's pretty straightforward. 3 simple steps. Step 1, filling out the application to get your account open, which we typically open within 24 to 48 hours. You can go directly to our website to open an IRA account. If you're looking to do a solo 401k, then that's a little bit lengthier. We'll have to walk you through that. So just again, reach out to myself or one of my colleagues. Step 2 is funding your account. So whether that's a combination of transferring from an existing IRA, a direct rollover from an old employer plan, or making an annual cash contribution. And then finally, start investing. What is it that you want to diversify and put your funds in? With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Rashad to make you the speaker. Rashad, let me just open up your presentation. Just bear with me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're certainly welcome.
Okay, so tiny homes and large scale developments. That's what we're going to be talking about today. This first slide that you see, the picture at the bottom is my first development of 29 units. These tiny homes, these 2 tiny homes right here that you see is about 630 square feet. The average sales price on these units were about $215,000. I had a personal unit in this development as well, and I sold it, and it appraised for even more. It appraised for $237,000. So one of the things that we're going to get into about tiny homes is twofold. One is We're keeping the prices under, a certain price point under 300,000, which has the largest buyer pool, and that kind of take care of us on the back end because there's more people out there sitting with $300,000 approvals and less, versus 400 and up. So um, we are able to sell these a little more faster because we have a bigger buyer pool to choose from. Can you go to the next slide, please, Renika?
I sure can. Question is, where is these two tiny homes located?
Well, it's not. Oh, these. So it's actually 29. It's just two in the picture, but these are in Atlanta, Georgia, near the airport, College Park, Georgia, and so that's what the development is, and it's sold out, and we sold out within 55 days. That's something that I'll touch on in later slides as well.
Okay, let me answer this one question before you go to the next slide. It says, is there any holding period restrictions on the Roth IRA after 59 and a half? So as long as you've had the Roth IRA for 5 years and you're 59 and a half, there's no restrictions. But let's just say you open your Roth IRA at, age 58 and you're now 59 and a half, you still want to wait, for the 5-year holding period. Go ahead, Rashad.
Okay. So this slide is just a little bit telling you about myself. We currently have a development pipeline of 860 million. For a long time, it was 60 million until we partnered with two other developers out of Nashville on a 209-acre parcel that is contiguous with the 40 acres that I own. So outside of the tiny home development, I'm bringing three pieces of property to this, master plan community, and they're bringing the 209 units, and we're all helping raising the capital for it. So we'll get more into that agri-hood master plan community in later slides, but we'll go down currently what we have on the table right now, which is something that I've presented to the Advanta IRA group a couple times before, which is the 42 unit tiny home community that's active in construction. We're going through the site work right now. We're just got done with grading, getting ready to put the pipes in. We got to bring in about 100 to 200 loads of dirt. So if you don't know anything about development, you either have a cut site or you have a field site. A cut site means you got to take dirt out. A field site means you got to bring dirt in. So we have a field site. So even though we took out 94 loads of topsoil, we still have to bring in another 100 to 200 loads of dirt to, fill out the site plan. So another project that we're working on right now that's under construction. We don't have any investors on this project because we got the land for so cheap. We just refinanced out the land and used that equity to fund the construction. So it's a 4-unit townhome project. And then we have another 4-home small development that we're getting entitlements for. This piece of land right here is actually right in front of the tiny home development. The city owned it. It was supposed to be a part of the original owner's land, but I don't know what happened. But somehow the city and the county got a hold of it, and I was able to get that via auction. Another project that we just actually demoed 2 structures on this property, 33-unit townhome project. That's where we're looking to get it rezoned. And we'll go through this. We'll do like a little exercise on this development in a later slide. I'll show you how I look at deals and what the formula I use to determine how many units I can get on the property, and what I do to get it rezoned for higher density, which helps our bottom line. Um, and then last but not least, the master plan community, which will consist of 1,800 residential units, as well as 45,000 square feet of commercial space. Um, so just another thing about my background, like I said, I played professional basketball 8 years, signed with the 76ers in 2009, had a short stop there. Um, my college career, I was the nation's leading rebounder in 2007. And I was also Sunbelt male athlete of the year. And I've lived in 22 different countries. In my 20s was when I was a professional basketball player. So I've been well traveled. I've seen a lot. That helps shape my philosophy on things and how I look at life. And some things about my investment philosophy is we buy undervalued land and rezone it. So basically, this is my formula. I take land, I get it for less than what I'm supposed to get it for. And then on the flip side, I increase the zoning, the density. So I'm increasing the value of that land. So we're going in these deals with equity, just like I just gave that townhome project example. $3,700 for the land. I mean, that's dirt cheap. That's about as close to zero as you can get. And we was able to get a $1.2 million development on it. And the funny thing about that particular development, as you know, I stress test all my deals. I go off worst case scenarios. So my pro forma only had me selling these units at 260,000. It just appraised for 308,000 each unit. So we're we're about 48,000 each unit over ahead of schedule, as far as what we're going to be getting on the payout. So, and that's the same thing that I do with every deal. It has to make sense in the worst case scenario. I have to like the worst case scenario. And I always say numbers do lie. People, you can make the numbers look like whatever you want to make them look like. You can keep out what you want to keep out, and if you only know what you don't know. So if you don't know deal underwriting, you don't know how to underwrite a deal. And we'll go through that as well, because I want to kind of display how I look at deals and display my genius on how I can underwrite these deals pretty much in my head.
Okay, two questions. Are you open to looking at additional locations for development?
Well, typically I am, but this year we're focused on what's on our plate right now. We have a full plate. And what I'm realizing is we need to raise more capital than we've been raising. So we're putting a little more emphasis on the capital raising side, but I will look at a deal. But right now we do have our hands full, and we want to finish what's on our plate currently.
Sounds good. Next question is, what is the average time to sell the tiny homes now?
The average time, well, we're still on schedule, so we're on schedule and under budget. We're still looking at December 2025, and I'll explain this as well. When I did that previous development, we were building the houses and the site work at the same time, which sounds like efficiency, but it's really not. Because you can't get a CO unless all of the site work is done and all of the amenities are in. So on the Valentina Estates deal, the current deal, we're spending time getting all of the infrastructure in, all of the amenities in. So as soon as we do those first 10 and they're completed, we get COs, they move in. And even though we're not completely done with the tiny home community, we have residents in the first 10, first phase. Phase two, we'll have residents move in. They can literally move in the development at that point. So we're still on schedule and we're still under budget. So we're almost done with site work. All right. So this slide here, what is ground up development? If you look at the picture to the left, this is me on one of my developments. I'm standing on unit 4, and it's basically taking raw land from soup to nuts to a finished product. This land right here, and what I particularly do, I take land that no one wants. I see the value in it. I increase the value by knowing zoning. And me and my investors have great paydays once they're completed. So like I said, when I first got this land and we went to the city, the guy who ran the district, he was the only vote against it. The mayor had to come in because the mayor gets 2 votes. The mayor had to come in because they don't vote unless they want to. So the mayor wanted to see this happen, and she came in and 2 votes. It got him. We overrode him, but we were able to prove him wrong because this is land that nobody wanted. Is at the end of one of the worst streets on the worst side of town. Shootouts, all kind of crime and things like that. But when you build something like this to the right and you bring in homeowners, it changes the dynamic of the neighborhood. So it's basically, I'm taking my vision that's in my head and bringing it into fruition. So that's basically what ground up development is. And not to mention, we sold out within 55 days on a deal that people said wasn't going to work. So all of our investors were paid out. the residents, they're in there, and we on to the next thing. So, this top picture right here, right? This is pretty much what I was saying earlier about how we were doing the houses and the site work at the same time, but it did us no good because even though once those first 11 houses was finished, they were just sitting. We couldn't move them in. We couldn't move them in until the amenities and everything was in and all the site work was approved. So, um, you know, sharpening my axe, I'm like, hey, we might as well just do all the site work first, get all of the amenities in, all the infrastructure, all the paving of the streets, all the curbs in. And then when we and I have all the pads, we'll have all 42 pads down, and then we have 2 or 3 crews of framers just going around framing all the houses. And now we can create an assembly line. The houses aren't isn't going to take long at all. We're doing site work on 8.5 acres where we had to clear all the trees, put all the pipe in the ground. Like this is going from taking something that was nothing, pretty much a flood zone, into a thriving community. So once we get to the houses, we basically in the fourth quarter. It's now that we have all of our budgets and everything like that. Down here at the bottom, this picture right here, this is me and my coach. He recruited me out of college to the University of Arkansas Little Rock, and I think it's this picture right here means a lot to me because when he came to recruit me, he was a young coach, and he was trying to prove himself, and I believed in him. And years later, decades later, we're still in touch. We're still friends, and he was one of my first investors in the tiny home community. And here we are, right here on site, in front of some of the construction. Um, let's talk about a little bit of the mission and the vision. I'm on a mission to revitalize communities. Taking something that no one wants and making it something that everyone wants. And that's pretty much how my mindset is. And want to do a lot more mixed income housing. I come from public housing, so I want to make sure that we create thriving communities where people can be inspired instead of putting one demographic in one living quarters. So yeah, this basically our mission and vision. We're revitalizing 860 million in one side of town, which is my old neighborhood. And it's that's pretty much my vision and my passion. And for me, this isn't just real estate. I'm on a mission. I got a purpose. Like this is going to happen. No matter what. So and the thing about me is that all we need is investors to help fund these deals, because as you'll see in later slides, and I'll break down numbers in a heartbeat. These are lucrative deals, and I just want to kind of make sure I'm explaining it in a way that you can understand. So once we get to the next slides where we're breaking down deals and playing around with numbers, if you have questions, feel free. Just let me know, and we'll get your questions answered. So you can go to the next slide, Renika. Yeah, this right here, we're not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but this just gives a map of all of our developments. I'm real big on assemblages. If you all don't know what assemblages are, basically when you play a Monopoly and you got to get all three of the same color in order to put hotels on a property, it's basically taking one parcel and getting the adjacent parcels to make a bigger play. So that's pretty much what an assemblage is. And I have a couple of these around the city. Most of these developments are clustered, where I'll find one property and then I'll reach out to the residents and get more properties as well. That's how I got the 40 acres on Garner Road. You can go to the next slide, Renika. This slide right here, just talking about the market of Chattanooga, what I look for when I go into a market, and why I'm not doing as many deals in Atlanta right now. One is housing need. Atlanta will always need housing, but the pricing has gotten out of control. So I'm going where the deals are. In Chattanooga, I'm able to find undervalued land. They're pro development. They just did a historic zoning reform. If you get time, just Google Chattanooga historic zoning reform, where they hadn't changed the zoning ordinance in 60 years, and now they are more high density. They want more density. So, and we'll get into that in another slide as well. So, basically, when I mean high density, that means we're able to get more houses on one lot. They took the lot size requirement from 7,500 down to 3,000. So on a 1 acre lot, and we'll do the math later. On a 1 acre lot, um, you could probably get 10 houses. Um, but yeah, so we'll get into that. But on this slide right here, it's three things that I look for when I go into a market. Job growth. Do they have jobs? Can they afford what I'm building here? Population growth. Are people leaving town or are people coming to town? And like I said, again, housing need. And Chattanooga is short 5,000 units. That's also something that's, the mayor has been real big about. And you can Google that as well, to kind of fact check. You can go to the next slide.
Okay, a question that came in is how do you adapt to the changing economic conditions for the area? Is that a factor for you to want to invest there or build there?
Say that again. How do I adapt to the economic changes?
Yes, to the area where you're looking to invest.
Well, depending on, so I do market research. I do my due diligence. I'm an avid researcher. I call it film study. When I retired from basketball, I always tried to figure out what were the transferable skills that I used in sports. How could I use them in business? One of the first things that I came to was my mindset. I feel like I had a pretty dominant mindset when I played sports, and I transferred that into business. The same thing with watching film. I'm an avid researcher, so I know the market. I know what the average median income is. I know what the homes are selling for. I read the 10-year plan that the Planning Commission writes out. So I know they've deliberated on this for years, and I know exactly what they want. So I can bring to them exactly what they said they want. There's no way they can deny me because it's in a 10-year ordinance. And so that's kind of just how I adapt to the different changes. Just by doing research and doing my due diligence, and also keeping the prices, under the market average. Especially with the tiny homes, it's under 300,000, and it's a luxury product.
Thank you.
All right, so why micro homes? So one is lucrative. Two, it's a novelty. It's kind of like a novelty niche. Even if you go on Airbnb, you'll see that a tiny home costs more to rent than a regular house. So it's definitely a unique niche, and we'll just go over some of the numbers here, and this will help me explain why tiny homes are a good way to go. So acquisition, like I said, I got the land for dirt cheap. I got the land for 160,000. It was already approved for 27 houses. The previous owner just never did anything with the entitlements. So what I did, even though it was approved for 27, I increased the density even more to get 42. And the funny part about that, I came up short. I was trying to get 80 because I was going off the same parameters that I got in College Park. But I learned quickly that each municipality does things different, and everybody has their own ordinance. So I took 42 and ran with it. We spent about on soft costs. We spent about $987,000 on soft costs. Soft costs is basically your team, your civil engineer, your architect, paying your GC, paying your developer fee, your attorney, getting the contracts made, your surveyor. It's basically everything that's not construction related physically. Um, Site work is going to be around 1.5 million. We're at the point now where we have hard numbers. Before, our pro forma was based off educated guesses based on the market, but now we have hard numbers, so our pro forma is pretty tight. And like I said earlier, we're right there in budget. We're actually under budget, and I'll talk about that in the next slide when we go over the actual pro forma. Construction costs is going to be 5.5 million to build all 42 units. I don't think it will even be that much because we saved about 1.2 million on windows and doors, and that's just two line items. We saved that on windows and doors just by getting them from one of my vendors that I met at the Builders Trade Show, and I'll be going back again in February. So, and it's about time now that we start pre-ordering those windows and doors. Profit. We're looking at about $4.3 million profit on this deal, which 20% will go to the Class A investors, and then we'll pay off the debt, we'll pay off the institutional lender, and then I get paid last. So, you know, um, so right here, this picture here to the left, this is the platinum model. It's a 2-bed, 1.5 bath, 815 square feet. Um, I know this picture says 279, but we're actually going to raise the price to 299, and we're still under that $300,000 threshold. This is an old picture, but once we get our budgets back, from the pro forma to the actuals, we had to adjust the sales price. Any questions?
Yes, one question is, what is your net profit in the 42 unit model?
What is the net profit?
Yeah, what is your net profit in the 42 unit model?
4.3 million.
Okay.
Yes. So, if you look to the left, this is the pro forma right here. We have a total of 29,280 square feet. We have the three models, and you have the unit mix. We have 20 of the 815 square feet units. We have 14 of the 630 units, and then we have 8 of the 520 square feet units. Here's the breakdown of all the costs. One thing about this pro forma that is a good thing, I added a contingency in there of $425,000. That was for anything that we found underground that we didn't know. Right now, we have went through all of the underground. We did have to jackhammer, and we found rock, but thankfully, the jackhammer bill was just 10,500. So, with that being said, what happens to the rest of this 425? It goes back to the bottom line, because initially we had a $3.7 million net, but with $410,000 coming back to the bottom line, we'll end up a little over $4 million in net profit. So that's a good thing. We're all in about 7.8 million, and these are hard numbers. We have all of our quotes outside of paving, but that won't be a lot. I think for paving, I put 300,000, and it'd probably be a third of that. So that that's what I'm saying when I say stress test the deals. Shoot high, it'll come in lower, and then the rest will fall back down to the bottom line. If you look to the right on the cap table, this is the cap table. I changed the names of my actual Class A investors, but the economics are the same. The numbers are the actual numbers. So when we first opened Class A, we initially set out to raise 1.5 million. At the time, Cadence Bank was going to fund the horizontal, which is the site work. Long story short, they backed out of doing the site work, offered to do the vertical. So that left me with having to fund the entire site work of 1.5 million. That's why we reopened it to finish the site work. We had enough to get halfway through. Now we're trying to get over the hump. So we need to raise another 550,000 in Class A, and then it will be capped out at 30 shares. That $550,000 will be at 50,000 each is 11 shares, which will cap us out at 30 shares. Do anybody have any questions about this? And I'll kind of go through it as well. So let's look at the line that says John Doe. John Doe invested 200,000. That gave him 4 shares at 50,000 each. The equity equivalent is about 44.432%. I mean, 44.432%, which equates to $88,864. On top of that, he also has a 10% preferred return. So he'll also get a debt payment of 20,000 as a return on his capital, and he will get his principal back, which is the 200,000. So we're looking at paying John Doe back about $300,000 on his money, a little bit over that, and he has a general partnership stake, which is worth about $20,000. So we'll be paying John Doe around $320,000 for participating in this deal, and it's a total return of 54.432%. So this is pretty much what we're doing to finish out the capital raise for the tiny homes. This and that 550 will finish us out with site work and order the materials for the first 10 houses. The windows and doors, the cabinets, what else? Windows, doors, cabinets, the fixtures, and a couple other things, but a couple big ticket items like railings and things like that. So, do anybody have any questions on this? I know when we get to the numbers, we have a lot of questions, so I want to make sure I answer them for you.
Yes. First answer to question is, will these slides be available? Yes. So I will be able to email you a copy of these slides. You can just certainly reach out directly to me. Obviously, if you have questions related to anything that you hear or you see on the slides, you can reach out directly to Rashad and his team. One other question is, who typically, or who will be able to afford these homes, or who typically buy these homes is one of the questions.
Yeah, so the demographic is vast, but typically who buys these homes are singles, empty nesters, people with fur pets. We probably had one person who had one kid that moved in. So the demographic is vast. I mean, it's basically tiny home enthusiasts, tiny home lovers, and these tiny homes aren't the tiny homes you see on HGTV. It's not the tiny homes on wheels. Like these are floor to ceiling, 18 feet height. Like you don't feel like you're in 600 square feet. Excuse me. You don't feel like you're in 630 square feet. Like you're like, it's airy. It's roomable. It's very roomy. So, the demographic is vast.
Okay, and next question is, what is the time frame in which you will pay John Doe the 320,000?
Yes, so as soon as the last home sells, but me and my accountant, we start getting together before it's even time to complete the units to get everything lined up. Everybody will be paid back distributions through the investor portal. That's why I started using it, because it keeps everything in one place, and everything is already tracked. There's based on what he put in, it's already computed what he's supposed to get out. And we start making distributions probably 30 days after everyone's closed.
Okay, next question is, this is specific to it says, after paying off the other investors' costs, etc., which Rashad's personal net profit, if you want to disclose, but that was the question.
Oh yeah, I'll disclose it. That's fine. I'm probably gonna make anywhere from 2 million to 2.5 million on this deal.
Okay,
2 million being the worst case scenario.
that's the questions for now. If you have any additional questions, feel free to put them in. You want me to go to the next slide?
Well, one thing real quick. So, now I did give away 6% along the way. So I only own 74% of this deal. And the way I structure my deals is basically to make sure, and I'm gonna do this anyway, but it keeps everything honest because the thing about it is I get paid last. I don't get My investors get paid first. The institutional investor, they get paid along the way as we sell houses. And I think the last 14 houses on the tiny homes are all profit. We'll do a percentage split until we get to certain points, 70-30, then we go to 60-40, then we go 50-50 until they're all way paid off. Once they're paid off, we attack the debt. All the debt. Everybody with preferred returns, all the debt gets paid off next. After that, let's say we have $3 million, $3.7 million left. Then we pay off the 20% equity investors. Once they're paid off, everybody's paid off. I get whatever's left. So it's in my best interest to watch every line item. It's in my best interest to, do due diligence on what things cost. We order our own materials. We only get labor quotes from our contractors. I'm alleviating every chance for someone to inflate numbers on me. So we order our own materials. We only get labor quotes. And when we have these trucks coming out taking loads, I have someone out there with a clicker counting every load because it can get pricey. We spent over $150,000 on dirt, and that wasn't even on, the pro forma. So um, we're watching everything. I'm watching everything. My team's watching everything. We got cameras up at the site. And like I said, I'm big on fixed costs. I told my contractors that, when I hired them, I said, hey, what can you get this done for? He said 990,000. I got him down to 750 because I know I'm going to end up it's going to be something out of my control that'll get me up to that 900,000. So I'm always trying to insulate myself and insulate the project to make sure that we're on schedule and on budget.
Okay, next question is, do we have a choice to be an equity investor?
Yes, Class A is actually open back up. We have 11 shares left. It's only 550K that we can raise. We have a cap at 30 shares, so because we don't dilute our investors. But I closed it early under the premise that I could raise the rest in debt, which is lower. 54% is expensive. So that was my mind. That was my mindset initially, but now it's like, hey, we got to get it done. So I open up Class A, and we're paying out that 54% gladly because at this point, we want to get away from capital raising and get into focusing on the project. So I think 54% is a great return.
Okay, that's the questions for now.
Okay. You can go to the next slide. So this goes back to our mission, revitalizing neglected properties. If you look to the left, this is Germantown. I've actually had members of Advanta IRA come to Chattanooga, meet me on site. We walked the tiny home project. We walked Germantown. By the time me and this investor walked Germantown, we had already had it demolished. So he got to see me live and in action. My people out there working. And we just sat out there and talked, and we talked about the project, we talked about the tiny home project, and we also met for about 4 hours just talking one on one. So you're definitely welcome to come out, check out the projects. We're open book. We have a lot of things going on around the city, and yeah. So this is Germantown. What I want to do is a quick exercise, pretty much show you how I look at deals. So this right here is on .7 acres. It came with the house and an abandoned car wash that had been abandoned for about 20 years. This was an eyesore in the community. So no one is valuing this property. I paid 150,000 total for both lots, which was a steal of a deal. This is on one of the main roads in Chattanooga. This is adjacent to the main road in Chattanooga, which is Brainerd Road. So let's do some quick math, right? And if you got a calculator, do it with me. I take .7 acres. I multiply that by 1 acre, which is 43,560, and then I divide it by the minimum lot requirement. Here we're building townhomes, so I do 1,700 square feet. So that let me know I can get 18 townhomes with the current zoning. Like that's when I say I can do this in my head. It's now I know I can get 18 townhomes here, but if I rezone it to UGC, which is urban zoning, it takes away the lot lines. By taking away the lot lines, that means I don't have a 10-foot setback off the side. I don't have a 15-foot setback off the front. I can build up to the street. So with the new ordinance, I'm able to get 33 townhomes because I don't have to build them as wide. I can go up 5 stories. So this in real estate development, knowing zoning is just like owning Bitcoin or something. Like you can basically print money. I could take a lot and rezone it and and make it more valuable just by knowing the process and knowing the zoning ordinance. When they came out with the zoning ordinance, I went through every possible zoning. It's outside of industrial. I don't mess with industrial. But I went through all the zoning options just so I know when I look at a property, I can know the possibilities of how I can increase the value. So one thing I say is knowing zoning, it'll make or cost you millions. And right now we're using it to our advantage. Especially with Chattanooga being pro development and pro density. Like I said, current 13 units, rezoned for 33 units. Let's get into the underwriting of this deal. Um, Given that I can build for $180 a square foot on the average 1,600 square foot units per unit, it's going to cost me around 288,000 to build these. We'll be able to sell them for 450,000 in this area, giving us a net profit of 129,600 per unit. If you multiply that by 33 units, that's a total project profit of 4.2 million. And on this one, before I'm still doing the 80/20, but I'm actually looking for one investor. I call it, I'm looking for one capital partner because as I said, I love doing these presentations and I will keep doing them. But as the deals get bigger, we need more money. So it's time I'm trying to automate my capital raising. So that's why we have the passive investor masterclass, which we'll get into that later. And what that does is basically tells who I am, what I do, how I look at deals. It basically kind of gets you familiar with me before we even get on the call. And that's going to cut down on time of decision making or if you want to invest or not. So that passiveinvestormasterclass.com, that's our site. And you definitely go and watch the webinars, about an hour long, but it has a lot of meat and potatoes in it, and it gives you a good deep dive into who I am, how I think, and why I do what I do. So back to the capital partner profit, 20% along with a 10% preferred return. This is based on a $2 million investment. They'll get $1 million back basically passively on this one. So do anyone have any questions on this slide?
There's a couple questions that came in. One was a comment meaning contact info, please. So I'm sure you'll provide your contact information at the end of the slide. Is that correct?
Yes. I will provide my contact info at the end of the slides.
Okay, and also too, you'll get a copy of this presentation, which will have his contact information. Next question is, when will these be completed and ready to move in? Is one question.
Yes, so these are in the entitlement stage. So I have a meeting with the city next Thursday on the 23rd on this property, which I will try to get UGC zoning. Once I get UGC zoning, then I'll go before the planning commission, which they'll invite the neighbors out, see if they're for or against it. And once we figure that out, I'll get my land disturbance permit, and then we'll start doing the site work. But the good thing about this is the site work is going to take a fraction of the time. This is flat land. Everything is already plumbed. All the underground utilities are already there. This was already functional. The reason why the tiny home takes a little longer, one, is probably 8 times as big, 10 times as big, and also it was a rough site. The terrain was a little rougher, and by it being in the area that it was in, we had to do a lot of engineering underground to make sure it doesn't flood. So we had to do a lot of storm drains and a lot of retention ponds. We actually got 2 retention ponds in that development. But the site work won't take as long as this. So this right here, I look at this now. Don't get me wrong. We know this is not a ground up like a 4-unit. But this will be like a 4-unit approach because the terrain is not difficult. It's pretty cut and dry. We're on flat land, and the site work won't take nearly as long. So I'm thinking about 8 months before we even start getting our land disturbance permits and everything like that. Because we have 2 milestones to complete. One is pre-application meeting on the 23rd, where they tell me what I can and can't do. And they'll also give me suggestions on zoning. I'm coming in with UGC because that's the one I know, but they did just change the ordinance. Maybe some slipped through the cracks, but it's their job to tell me what's the highest and best use if I ask for that. So we got the pre-application meeting next Thursday. And then once they let me know what I need to do, I get with my civil. We take these concept plans, I give them my architect, and we make real building plans. And my civil make a real site layout. And we take that to the planning commission meeting. We get approved. We get the zoning, and we get our land disturbance permit, and then we start construction.
Wonderful. A couple more questions just popped in. It says, did you have to rezone? What was that difficult? And then another question relating to zone.
Yeah, so no, zoning was not difficult. Chattanooga is actually pro-development right now. It wasn't always like that. The mayor that we have now, I love him because he's a businessman, and we changed the ordinance. I mean, like I said, the ordinance hadn't changed in 60 years. Um, they're making it to where I won't say there's no rules within reason, but we're short 5,000 units. So he's putting the battery in developers back. Like, hey, we're not going to stop you. You want to do an apartment building, build it. You want to do townhomes, build it. You want to do tiny homes, build it. They're not denying anybody. I mean, we just had a city council meeting about a month ago on the $800 million development, the master plan community, and you know, they approved 90% of the cases. The only time people didn't get approved if it was just something that they should have knew better not to even present, like putting a industrial building in a residential neighborhood, like just something that you should just know not to do anyway. So if it's common sense, they're gonna approve it.
Okay, next zoning question is, what are the steps to get a property rezoned?
You just fill out an application, and they'll give you a date to come to a hearing. You come to the hearing, but with that, you have to tell why you need it rezoned. So you have to come up with a compelling story of why you need this rezoned. My thing will say, we're short units. I'm building attainable housing units, and you know, um, if there's any opposition in the courtroom, they get to go up and speak. Each one of them has a minute to either be for or against it, and then I also get up and talk and defend my case. So, I'm pretty much I know everyone in the city. If there's any issues, I'll get a call, like, hey, we got some opposition emails. You need some emails of support. So so that's pretty much the process.
Okay, next question relating to is, what is the cap partner profit if rezoning is declined?
Well, worst case scenario, we can get 18 units, right? So let's say and bringing 2 million to the table, that's based on us getting 33 units. So if we was only able to go with what's here right now, which is 18, what the equity needed that you needed to bring will be lower. I mean, the percentage that you make, it won't change. But to really answer your question, I won't get denied. It may not be 33, but I will be able to get a higher density than this because if I was able to get 18 in the old ordinance, the lot sizes are smaller. Now I don't know what it is now, but it used to be 1,700. It may be 1,500 now. It may be 1,000, for townhouses. But with given that, me and my architect can design a less wider townhouse, but we can go up 5 stories. This current zoning only allows us to go up 3 stories or 35 feet. So to answer your question, I'll get the zoning. How many? That's the question. But it'll increase from 18 for sure.
Thank you. That's with the question. I do want to be respectful of the end time. I know you have a couple more slides to go through, so I'll move to the next one. Oops.
Okay. This is one
Okay.
agri-hood.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to respect their time too, so I'll run through this. So the $800 million development is an agri-hood, and what an agri-hood is basically a planned community that integrates agriculture into a residential neighborhood. The purpose is to facilitate food production, green space, recreation, and value for the community. On this project here, we've had 3 charrettes. If anyone know what a charrette is, it's basically inviting the community to come out and be a part of what we're developing, getting the community engagement. We also do SWOT analysis at the charrettes. We going over strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So this is called Do Little Farms. We'll have farms, residential space, commercial space, farm to table restaurants, green space, walking trails. The residential will consist of single family homes, apartment buildings, townhomes, and the like. So this is pretty much what the agri-hood will be: live, work, and have some cottages as well, aka tiny homes. So we actually had another meeting 2 days ago that I wasn't able to attend, but we're having constant meetings. We actually withdrew this at the last city council meeting because the city is going to actually let me and my partners write our own code. So we'll be able to do form-based code here because they don't have a code for what we're trying to do. So they're going to allow us to write our own code. So typically you can only do form-based code around downtown, but we have an exception on that. So that's pretty good as well.
Oh, that's good to know.
You go to the next slide. Just talking about investor relations. This guy right here to the left, this is one of my first investors. I got him off Bigger Pockets. Um, he's been investing with me since 2018, and he's still one of my investors. He invested in the previous tiny home deal as well as Germantown. He helped me acquire that. He put up half, I put up half, and we own that outright. So. The investor portal. These are just some of the things that we do with our investors. Bringing that investor portal into play was a lifesaver for me because everything is tracked. It kind of does the work for me. Once you go in, you create your profile, you invest in a deal, we have your investment locked in. Once we do distributions, we click a tab, we distribute your funds to you. Everything is tracked. And let's say down the road you've invested in multiple deals, you will be able to see lifetime your IRR based on investing with me. So I love it because like I said, I want to show the stats. I want to see everything. Also, too, site visits. Like as I said, a couple of the Advanta members have already come to my site. I've had investors come to my office to meet me. All of that is open. All you gotta do is say the word. So we have four scheduled places where you can do site visits. One is the groundbreaking ceremony. Once we break ground, we'll do that once all of the site work is done and the infrastructure is in. Phase one, once the site work is done, like I said, phase two is when we start construction. Once we start construction, you can also come back out. We'll make sure you have hard hats on so we're in compliance. And then also we'll have a grand opening event once everything is closed, everything is sold, you're paid out. Now it's time to party. We're gonna we're gonna sip some champagne and get ready to do it again. As far as updates, we do monthly updates with the equity investors. They're usually about 15 minutes long if the members don't have any questions. And just giving updates and talking about what's next and things like that. So also one other thing that we're incorporating now that we have these special cameras on site, we're gonna have videos that come out. We'll put them on our YouTube. It's called Live from the Site. It's basically the cameras rolling. You get to see your money working in action. There's no talking. There's no music. It's just the machines, and you get to see it. You get to see it, live and direct. So we'll start putting those up as well. You can kind of see it. I know it's not exciting, but it just land out there. But once we start getting houses up, I think you'll appreciate watching the live from the project videos. Also, YouTube documentation. Like I said, we document our process. Renika, you can go to the next slide. I think this is the last one before the thank you page. This is basically investor relations continued. We do monthly investor reports. We're actually trying to make them more interactive because I know when we were sending out the newsletters, it's just monotonous kind of, you always getting a newsletter via email, but we're going to start putting these on Canva to where you can actually click on videos and see different things and stuff like that, along with the literature that, we're trying to get across. Um, like I said, to date, we have 100% investor rate. I have returned every dollar that I've borrowed from investors since 2018, and I plan to keep that streak going. So, if you're interested in investing, please reach out. We're trying to finish out this capital raise so we can move on and focus on something else. So, this is so this is our website, postprocapital.com. Also, check out passiveinvestormasterclass.com. This is something new that I've done to kind of cut down on, because a lot of people that are investing now, we don't have a previous relationship. So the purpose of that passive investor masterclass is to basically let you know who I am, what I do, why I do what I do, and kind of warm you up to who I am as a person and how I invest and my investment philosophy and things like that. So by the time we get on the call, we're just mainly just talking about the deal and handling business. So you can go to the next slide, Reneika.
Okay, and question is minimum investment amount. Are you able to
Yeah,
ask me?
so we have different classes. So for the tiny homes, we have class A, B, and C. Class A are the equity investors. The minimum is 50,000. Class B, that's a 12% return, but you can invest as little as 5,000. Class B is from 5,000 up to 19,000. That's a 12% return. Class C is a $100,000 investment. Well, it's two Class C's actually. Class C is 50,000 where you get a 20% return, 50 up to 99,000. And then there's another Class C where that's a $100,000 minimum, but it's a 25% return. So to answer your question, the minimum is 5,000, and you can invest that in Class B.
Okay.
Yeah, so I appreciate you all sitting through this presentation. If you got any questions, this is my information. Definitely go to passiveinvestormasterclass.com. That for you to check out the webinar, and also you can check out our company page, postprocapital.com. We also are starting a podcast, the Developer Playbook. I'll be talking about development, day in the life. I have other development guests on, and we're just going to be talking development and sports. Well, not sports. I'll have some developers on that play sports, and we'll kind of get into that conversation. So be on the lookout for that. We have a lot of things lined up, man. I'm very excited about 2025, and it's going to be a great year.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rashad, for being our speaker again. Thank you, audience, for your time, tuning in, asking great questions. This will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel later today or first thing tomorrow. Again, you'll get a copy of the slides from me. Feel free to reach out. If you have any questions relating to self-directed IRA, feel free to reach out to myself or one of my colleagues. Go to our website, advantaira.com. With that, happy investing.